Alright, I am back with the first of many Outriders videos now that I have my hands on an actual release copy. If you're watching this on day 1 here, you will notice that it's actually day 0. I have access to the game 1 day early. There was no real embargo to this. There weren't review copies sent out a week or two ahead of time like with most games. This has to do with the game being a live service game, even though they're saying they're not a live service. It's live, it's on servers, and those had to be turned on. This is why we don't really get, I can't review a Destiny expansion before it comes out or anything like that. It's kind of weird here because you can absolutely play almost all of Outriders solo completely. I don't know about the endgame, but it's kind of weird to have it be always online and kind of have the architecture be built like this. I switched to Series X, as you can see, and my quick resume does not actually work because it keeps disconnecting from the server, so it's not like you can just pick up where you left off, and you cannot pause the game either. These are all things we knew from the demo, but this is why there's no reviews and why I'm just playing 1 day early along with a bunch of other streamers. I know some streamers got access to the full game, I think, pretty early yesterday. And a lot of the people I know are crazy grinder types like me or me times 10. So I know people like Moxie from Borderlands and stuff are level 40 already, endgame farming, legendaries and stuff and the game's not even out yet. So I don't know how much they kind of sprinted through it. I am just kind of taking my time. As you'll note, I have switched over from PS5 to Xbox Series X. I'm not going into that whole thing again. But that meant I had to start over from scratch because I didn't have any demo progress, so I spent about 90 minutes or so replaying the initial kind of introduction and then the 3 or 4 story campaign side missions that you could do from the demo. But I've since gone well past that into, I think, 3 different zones. I am now level 14, I think, and starting to see a couple epics drop here and there. No legendaries yet, but I think those come later. I have noticed new gear from the demo. I think they were limiting the pool a little bit, at least in terms of visuals, in terms of how wide a variety of gear there is. So I'm starting to find stuff that I actually really like the aesthetic of, and there are some cool things you can find. I'm not going to show gameplay footage because I know the game's not even out yet, and if you want to see story missions and people going deep into the game, you can watch streams. And I also just really can't capture footage on Xbox that well, so when I do that, it's probably going to have to be the PC version of the game, which will be lagging behind my main gameplay on console here. And I do have some demo progress that carries over there. I started with Wraith. Wraith, that's not the name of it. Trickster. It's essentially the Wraith class, though. I think it has a move called Wraith something or another. This is the class I had the most fun with in the demo. The mobility, the time, it's not time travel, it's time manipulation powers for slow bubbles and cutting people with a blade that makes them age to death instantly or something. I don't really know what's happening, but they have very cool powers, and I have unlocked several more past the demo. There's one that turns you into essentially a whirlwind barbarian from Diablo, where you spin around with your blades and cut into enemies. I didn't find that terribly useful so far. I think you need to sink a bunch of upgrades into it for mods and stuff to make it better. So for now, I thought there were better options on the table. I just unlocked a different skill that is you press a button and it gives you kind of this big boost of shield and armor for survivability, and it creates a fixed point on the map where you can go around for about a minute, and then if you get into trouble at any time, you can tap it again, and you will teleport back to that spot and out of harm's way. Presumably, if you're just really in a pickle, but by the time you realize you're gonna die, you might already be dead. So, because in this game, it's the whole kill to heal thing. Things are going a little smoother because I have understood how the game appears to, be meant to be played, and that is not really using cover. I don't think I have purposely taken cover since the introductory demo, where it forces you to take cover to shoot at some holographic targets. I played the entire game as Trickster so far, just running around and killing to heal. I do die, a halfway good amount, but I'm always trying to keep the world tier difficulty as high as I can. I think this is different from the demo, but even if you clear a bunch of enemies from a section and then die, I think it used to take away your XP, but it doesn't take away your XP now. So you can kind of farm XP a little bit that way, and you don't feel like you're making no progress if you keep filling a section over and over, and you get to keep the loot. I think I need to double check on this, but I think it might be the case where if you die a bunch on a world tier, you will lose world tier XP. I'm not. I think that's how it's working because I keep feeling like my bar is going down there every so often when I see it tick up for a while and then it goes down. So that's I think that's like the game's way of saying like maybe you're not ready for this yet, but get a couple more drops and like the gear boosts really help you kind of your damage can jump 20-30% as can your survivability with a drop or two. So it's not too hard to kind of keep current with the world tier system, provided you are always doing your kill to heal stuff. In terms of the actual game, what am I thinking of it past the demo content? I still really like it. I really liked the demo from what I saw, and I definitely overfarmed it to the point I probably shouldn't have. But it's more of the same, and yet it is, it goes to a bunch of diverse biomes. There's like an ice place and like a fortified city, and so it is, it feels kind of similar to what you experienced in the demo. I've started fighting a few more alien creatures that aren't just guys with guns. Those have been pretty easy so far, with the exception of a very large boss that you fight in the story campaign that I won't spoil here, but that was like the first true boss encounter in the game, where it's not just like you're fighting an anomaly guy. It's like this is a boss with a giant health bar. It wasn't that difficult. I think I died once before I kind of figured out the mechanics. Max world tier I was at, but there are going to be things like that. What I've noticed about the game is that it does a few things similarly but better than some of the failed looters that have come before it. I'm starting to actually kind of enjoy the story and characters to a certain extent. I think this game from People Can Fly, who did Bulletstorm and are people that have worked on games like Gears of War and stuff, have done a better job of setting up this like alien world with a weird anomaly in it than Anthem did. That was pretty much the exact plot of Anthem to a certain extent. Anthem had the anomaly and its terraforming machines and stuff and all these mysteries in the planet. But I'm actually starting to find the mysteries of Outriders kind of interesting, and I have been watching every cutscene, not skipping anything. I have done every dialogue option I've come across, which is also why I'm going kind of slowly. But they animate, like every dialogue option has like a little animated scene where like your character might like walk over and sit down next to somebody, or you might go like look over the edge of a cliff, or like it's not just like Oblivion style like face to face like talking and the person just kind of chatting at you. It's like these are all animated sequences that have full voice acting and full motion and performance capture and stuff. So that's a good aspect of it. And there's not a ton of those, granted, but the ones there are, I think have been good, and I have been kind of interested in like what the hell happened on this planet like before we got here. The general gist of this is like Earth was collapsing and people barely escaped with their lives, and there was like a mass kind of world war that made everyone leave as they were trying to get to a new planet. They researched this planet, and it was supposed to be paradise, and yet in the 60 plus years before they got there, this anomaly thing happened and created this crazy storm that gave some of a superpower, but mostly just kills people and makes the wildlife very large and dangerous. And it's like there haven't been any like really big reveals yet, but I am engaged. I'm more engaged in the story now than I was probably just in the demo. Maybe that's a side effect of just repeating the same 4 missions in the demo over and over again, but it's getting better. I like my main character, who I would say has the personality of an annoyed superhero, where they just like got these powers and like all these people like sending them on missions. They're like, oh, fine, I'll like drive to the forest, or like, oh, I'll turn on your radio tower or whatever. Like, just tell me what to do, and like. It's kind of good, and it's sort of, let's say, like Destiny, where you don't have a personality at all. So I think that's kind of a nice change in that regard. The game is continuing to be very linear. So you go to, I've been to 4 different zones, I think, so far, and they're all kind of like the first zone in terms of how they're set up. There are 3 or 4 kind of rally flags you discover that you can teleport to, and then just little kind of like branching, snaking hallways that go to combat encounters for various side missions and things. And they're all set up kind of like you would imagine like an older Uncharted game before they went a little bit more open world. But like it's very linear in the sense that like, okay, you go down this pathway, here's a combat encounter, like kill 40 guys, and then like here's another little hallway, here's another combat encounter and a boss. Like it is very linear in that sense, and kind of on rails, and yet it is not nearly as bad as something like Godfall, where Godfall's linear environment was just extremely dull, both visually. Well, it wasn't dull visually; it was like overly cluttered and nonsense visually. But like it didn't feel like a, it felt so aged compared to everything else. And Outriders does to a certain extent with its like cutscenes between doors and things, and yet I would say it doesn't feel nearly as bad as Godfall's level design does. But also you may miss kind of the broader, less constricted worlds of say like the Division with its giant map, or Destiny with patrol zones and like strikes that are a little more diverse in their geography and objectives and stuff. There's not really mechanics here past like kill everyone. Like there's no, at least so far, maybe this changes in the end game, but there's no like, hold this point while something happens, or like it's just kill everyone in an area and then open the door. That is like 99% of everything I've experienced, which is fine because combat remains fun, and yet I can understand why some people might balk at that a little bit, and I think the shooting here is a little generic. So, oh, there goes Evie. My wife's calling her, but so this is kind of where I'm at right now. I want to say like 8 or so hours in. I started playing shortly after writing her this morning, 7 or 8 hours. I could check my playtime to prove how long I've been playing if I need to, but I'm probably just going to do a full playthrough on the Trickster first, and then kind of move on to the other classes. And the only thing you really get to do is skip the prologue before you pick your class. So I don't think there's going to be too many things that you can avoid if you're trying to get to max level and then start farming the end game, that's how it works for all these games in the genre. Borderlands, Diablo, like you rerun the story with the character and things like that. So it's pretty much it's what I expected, and that's good because I was having fun with the demo, and some aspects of it have improved, like the story for me. We'll see if that continues over the course of the game or not. And I don't like. They were saying something about like this is a 40-hour campaign, but from what I'm seeing from a lot of streamers, that does not seem to be true unless everyone is just blowing through side missions and skipping things. So I'm not sure what the final shakedown of this is going to be before you hit the end game. Again, this is not meant to be a game you play indefinitely. So if there is a hard ending to that, that's not a surprise because they have been very upfront about that. But I do think that they will add more content and characters and things like that in the future if this game's a hit, and I don't know if it will be. I know that me and my crowd are interested in it, and it seems to be somewhat appealing, but it's a brand new IP. It's not exactly like something that stands out in its marketing, I would say, if you're not really paying very close attention in this space. So we'll see how it pans out, but for now, I'm enjoying myself, and I will look forward to seeing what you guys think about the full game, the expanded content, when it launches tomorrow. I will be farming this pretty indefinitely. Like I don't see myself getting bored of it anytime soon. Granted, it's still early, but this seems like a game that you can kind of. It's like Diablo style mindless farming, where like running rifts is not the most interesting thing in the world, and yet somehow you can do it for like 10 hours if you are just if you just are bored and want to. Try and be min-maxing, and that kind of seems like what we're at here. If you have any specific questions, you can let me know in the comments, and I can maybe try to address some of those tomorrow in a video once I have even more playtime in. And then obviously I'm probably going to write my 10 Things I Wish I Knew article in the next couple of days here when the game launches. But this will be the first of many, many Outriders videos, especially now that Destiny is not really doing all that much right now except throwing extremely hard nightfalls at us. So that's where I'm at for now, and that has been my experience, and it's been a good time. So I will see you back here tomorrow, probably with another Outriders video, and I will talk to you guys soon. Thank you.